All right. Just wanted to welcome everybody back. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but Devin and I thought it would be worthwhile to sit down and talk about construction, the latest update from Talibri, what it means in terms of game mechanics, how it can benefit you, and how you go about um, setting up your first house, its additions, and any upgrades.
Yeah, definitely a huge update to the game. It's a long time coming, but the big stuff usually gets bundled in together, and it's what we've been waiting for quite a while.
It has
Um,
been, yeah.
yeah, I definitely don't regret it. Because they also lumped in the crafting dice system into this, which is basically what construction uses, and everyone else uses a version of it. So, like mentioned in previous videos, whenever they introduce something new that they like, they try to actually move a lot of other stuff to it.
hmm
Uh, so the game always updates much more fully than people think.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I mean, just to get the construction implemented, a lot of things had to change in the back end. Um,
mhm.
Crafters have dice. There's a lot of mastery changes and XP changes, and a lot of things that had to go through the ringer in order for this to become a reality.
Oh yeah.
So
Um,
it's been a long time coming, but it's here and it's worth it.
yeah, definitely a lot of demand for it. Been seeing some housing editions go for 50 million on the market. A
Yeah.
lot of money,
Oh
more
yeah.
than I've actually had on my characters so far.
Yeah, one of those lucky few that trying to capture that market early.
Mhm. So let's actually get into construction, like what it's all about, what it's like right now, and what it might actually be in the future, as far as what we see its usefulness. Um, so, what exactly is housing right now? What do you actually do when you're first starting?
Well, first you have to make your house.
Hmm.
That's or buy your house. That's one of the, that's the first step. And you have to pick which city you want to plant your house in, which right now doesn't really matter. It's fairly arbitrary, but for the sake of lore or role playing, that might be an important choice. Um, so that'll be tied to a city. In the future, Hootie's going to implement moving, so you can pick up your house and move it. And before the cities actually become, um, before the other mechanics for cities are added, there's going to be a period where you can move for free.
Hmm.
Um, see, there's additions that you can add to your house, and they provide bonuses, mastery bonuses, success bonuses, and difficulty reduction bonuses. And then you can upgrade both the house and the additions as you go.
Right. Uh, and these are not going to be passive bonuses so much as what they're going to be activatable, like a certain number of times every 24 hours. I believe you said it as 8 or 9 Eastern time. As for server time, where all the prices reset, you always start with one activation that's going to be free. After that, it's an ascending cost. So even if you just get your first house and drop all your money on it, you're still going to be able to make use of it once you get one of those additions in. So that's still quite helpful. Um, what exactly do you do once you actually have your house built? It goes into your inventory, and then what do you do with it?
Well, you're going to have to go to a city. You have to select which city you would like to be a part of, and there's going to be a button that shows up there. You select your city, and it builds that building for you. So I kind of thought there would be another step, like actually like place house, but um, it jumped right to it.
Hmm. Uh, yeah, that's going to be for the building of the house. I believe once you actually have it in your inventory, you actually go to your profile, and there's a home tab. Yeah.
Right, right.
So it's either there. I'm not sure if Hootie's going to keep it in the same place, but you select where it's actually going to go once you're actually in the profile. And once that's actually placed, that actually becomes a permanent fixture in your profile. So it's kind of like being able to check out your equipment. Just another thing there.
hmm
Uh, And just a few details on the construction skill itself, for in case people actually want to get interested in starting in that. Uh, yeah, the construction skill itself actually is introducing the queue system for a lot of the crafts. And this is actually going to be pretty universal for all of the refining crafts right now and eventually the components. You start out with two slots that you can actually have in your queue, and you're going to be able to get one every 50 levels until level 200 in that skill, and then every 100 levels after that, so 300, 400, etc. Uh, so in the actual construction location that you're actually building at, I believe it's called the Condry's Construction Yard in Lowenheim, but they're going to have different names for the different cities, thematic. And you're actually going to find that with the housing patch that they added in the new lore names for each of the locations at different cities. Cool stuff. Um, the house types are actually going to be at the top, starting with the shack and then the cottage. And I believe there's large cottage, and then there's other names for that. And the actual additions, which are all going to be in sets of three for each of the professions, are going to be down below. So, as far as actually crafting them and the information you're going to be seeing, what do you actually see when you're looking at the crafting and construction of it?
Right. So you're going to see, first of all, that all these buildings and additions have a base difficulty. You're going to be able to select a nail, um, select your plank, and you'll see how much money it costs and how much money Leo, how much Leo costs and how much you have in your bank. Um, Now, one thing you can do to sort of modify the difficulty level is increase the quality of the nails that you're using. It doesn't matter what type of ore or what type of metal the nails are, but it does matter what quality they are. The higher the quality, the more it will actually reduce the difficulty. So if you are using a base quality copper nail, it won't reduce it at all, I believe. But
No.
once you go elder, it reduces it by one, rare is two. You know, you get the idea. Offsetting that somewhat more is plank quality will increase the difficulty, but it will also reduce the number of ticks that's required to build the house or addition by 5%. And that adds for each quality level of the wood that you're using. So if you're using ancient wood, it's going to bump that difficulty up. If you're using ascendant nails, it's going to drive it right back down again. So you can kind of manage how long it's going to take, um, the resources that you're using. If you want to do it cheaply, it's going to take a little bit longer. Um, if you want to do it quickly, it's going to be more expensive. So
Mhm.
you kind of have to weigh what you want to do. Um, there is an exception to that, though, and that is once you get further up in the level of the housing or addition that you're using, you're forced to use higher quality materials. I believe with level 3 housing and additions, you have to use elder or above, and I think level 6 it's rare and above. Um,
We're going to get confirmation on that very soon, as housing literally came out a couple days ago. We don't have as many personal, examples of that yet, but as you go on, it is going to actually require specific rarities and up, so you aren't going to be able to keep cheap rolling it all your way up.
yeah,
Um,
and if this is a knowledge dump now, don't worry. We're going to walk through the process of queuing everything up. What you'll see if you try to cancel, and actually how you go about setting up the house and applying the additions. We've got accounts on the test server. We're going to test that out and run through it real quickly so you know what to expect.
Yeah, something that also helps offset the information load of housing as it is that there is an early limit of it. When you build your first shack, it has only 5 space in it, and space is a unit as for how much room you have to put additions into. Um, that's going to be a limiting factor, so you can only actually have one addition in there at start. And What that's going to do is essentially make it so you have a choice of what you actually want to put into your house at first. But once you start upgrading the size of your house, then it's going to open up the options. So, first starting out in housing, you're obviously going to have a learning curve, and it's basically going to force you to have that learning curve. So it's pretty good, pretty well designed. So, uh, some information as far as how construction itself scales up. Um, like Gathering, in which a lot of the crafting systems have now gone over to the dice system, construction actually starts with 2d6, just like the Gathering ones. You're rolling two six-sided die. And unlike other crafting and gathering systems, there's actually not mastery for construction yet. This means that pretty much everything as far as scaling up in your success rates entirely is based off of your level in construction. So you're going to want to actually keep doing construction as much as possible. Um, and when possible, do the more difficult projects and maintain doing those for the highest experience gain. Like we said before, you're going to be able to add more queue space the higher level you are in construction. So level is everything for construction. And the queues are important because you can only actually set up one project per queue slot. So if you don't want to have to keep returning to your computer every 8 hours, higher level you get, you want to do more difficult and long projects as well as more projects queued up, meaning you have to actually have the materials to do those. So thinking ahead will actually help you a lot for keeping this an idle game for you if you like construction. Um, and as the difficulties are actually based off of base difficulty and what materials you're throwing into it, on if you actually want to decrease the time by increasing difficulty with planks or decreasing difficulty with higher rarities of nails. You also have higher difficulties with harder base projects like bigger houses, higher level housing additions. You're going to have to beat all of that with just your dice. Unlike other crafting systems, you're not actually going to have um, the mastery passives of gathering or the tools yet, because there are no crafting tools for construction. And crafting gear currently is only for the reroll bonuses on the last, I think, second to last set of light armor. So that's pretty much the one thing you have going for you, except for housing additions and actually doing construction. But one of the things that is actually a benefit here is that uh, you no longer actually lose mastery on failing a tick. And you also no longer lose the materials for failing that tick as well when you actually queue that up. So uh, as long as you put in the materials at the beginning, you're going to be able to actually successfully craft that at the end. All right.
We have our first question in the comments, and that is, what kind of products do you two use in your beards?
I use water. Yeah.
I use a variation of that. I posted that I use children's tears.
Oh, yeah. Very farmable these days.
Very.
Um, I used to use Aqua's Tears, but I've recently gone on to crafting Dragon's Land and Sea Platter, so I no longer have a huge stock of those. So, um, yeah,
Oh
brand
boy.
loyalty is not a thing.
All right, so are we ready to go ahead and demo this?
Yeah,
Is
go
there
ahead and
any?
show them the screen. There's a lot of people that are probably more visual learners than audio, but let's see what we can do.
Yeah, okay, so let me fire this up. All right. Haha. All right. Um, here we have uh, my account on the test server. And so the very first thing we want to do is if we're planning on building a house, we're going to want to go to a city. Really, any city will do, but because of familiarity. Oh, that's interesting. Go away. All right. So I'm in Lowenheim right now. I want to go to the construction yard. And what you'll see is I actually have some items in my queue. Stop it. All right. Let's give a solid refresh on this. Okay, active skills, none. All right. So we're here in the construction yard. Um, you can see here I've kind of unlocked some of this already. I've done some leveling. And the very first thing you're going to see is the shack. You'll also see the level 1 additions, but we'll not, we won't get to that just yet. Um, so let's start by clicking on shack. You see here it's requiring planks, nails, and leal. Um, oh, hey, interesting. Let's try that again. Pardon the technical difficulties. That wasn't the test server. All right, so back to Lowenheim. All right, so you can see we've got the shack available along with all the level 1 additions. Click on shack. Again, there's a requirement for planks, nails, and leal. I've got plenty of everything. So let's just start off basic. Spruce planks, copper nails. You can see there's the base difficulty of 6, and it's going to take 1440 ticks. Well, let's just say that we actually have some ancient spruce planks, and you can see it raised the difficulty to 9, but lowered the time to 1224. So this is going to take quite a bit less time. And if we so happen to have someone that we know that's feeding us infernal copper nails, by selecting that, you can see the difficulty drops back down to 3. So all these things work together to offset each other in the cost in terms of time and leol. So to fire that up, click Add to Queue, and it shows up in one of your slots above. Um, as Devin was saying, you can also queue up some other things at the same time. So if we're a cook, we might want to grab a kitchen. So, we'll use some more items. Um, and also, what's great here is it shows the effect of this addition. It's going to provide a mastery bonus for 360 ticks for all cooking. That's wonderful. It's super powerful. That's going to make your mastery level go through the roof. So let's add that to queue. And it pops
Mhm.
up second in queue. Now, here is a UI issue. If you've been following along in Discord, don't fall for the trap. There's actually room for a third one. So let's fire up the fridge and add to queue. And it doesn't show up there, but I believe if you go back, actually, I think let's just go back to our queue on the homepage. It shows all 3 additions. So now that you've added, or it shows the housing and the 2 additions. So now that you've added everything to your queue, you actually have to start the queue. Um, Otherwise, it's just going to sit there. So let's start those ticks, click Start Constructing. So our difficulty for the shack is at 3. So we have to roll 3 or higher for it to be a successful tick. As it rolls those successful ticks, you can see the number of ticks go down. And when it hits 0, voila, you have it in your inventory. If you fail a tick, as mentioned previously, you don't lose any materials. You just have to wait an extra tick to make up for it, or you have to have it's going to delay the time to completion. So for something with a really high difficulty, because you use really high planks or crafting something that's beyond your ability, you're going to have a lot of failures.
Right. As everything actually has a tick timer as opposed to like a real time timer, you're going to be able to see that in the bottom right it has that progress with a number after it. That's going to be the number of remaining ticks for that single task. It'll get you a little estimate of how long it's going to take, but you kind of have to elongate that by your chance of success and chance of failure.
Right. So let's say something happens, you realize you're not actually a cook, or you know you're a botanist and you happen to fire up a addition for, was it the miners or metalsmiths? I think it was metalsmiths. Not that that would ever happen. Um,
No personal examples.
no, no. So you could just click cancel. This message is very important. Are you sure you wish to cancel? If you have not yet started this project, no items will be taken from your inventory. No materials are lost. Okay, not a problem. Cancel right out of there. We'll also cancel out of the fridge because we're not cooks. Um, let's say for whatever reason, a friend, a guildie, um, or the heavens parted and we were bestowed with a shack. If we click cancel, we will be hit with that five um, the 5% penalty on resources that have not been consumed yet for the ticks that have elapsed. So we're
Mhm.
gonna lose out a little bit, but that's okay. We're still far enough ahead where it's not a big problem. All right. Um, so now that we've gone through the process of adding things to queue and starting it, we now have a shack. Head over to your profile page, and you'll see here the fourth tab says home. From here, this is the city selection. Um, pick which city you'd like. Doesn't really matter for now, but you have one of five choices. Um, let's just stick with Lowenheim. So by clicking that city, we now have our shack placed in that city. And we have our storage spaces for additions down here. And because we also have higher upgrade houses unlocked, it gives us the option of upgrading our house as well. So right off the bat, um, you have an empty house. We want to add stuff to it. We see we have a house space of 5. So we can add, um, we're actually fishermen, let's say that. So we want to start with the pond. We see it takes up 3 spaces. Add addition, it's there. We have 2 spaces available, so we'll go back and we'll add in the bait storage room. And we now have 0 spaces available. Uh, from here, we can open up the addition, see what's going on. Uh, see what the addition actually provides us in terms of a bonus and the activation costs. So your very first one, uh, resetting at 8 p.m. Eastern time. The very first one is free. They scale up in cost after that. So what you want to do is you want to activate it. But hold on, activating it doesn't actually activate it. Once you activate it, you also have to enable it. So down at the bottom left, where you see bonuses, click on bonuses, and you will have forestry bonuses available. Um, if there's a red background, that means it's currently disabled, and that is the default state. So you will have to enable that. Now, for each of those corresponding ticks, you will receive the bonus for that. And then, if you want to switch off of what you were doing, do something else, you can go back and disable it, no problem. And you maintain your ticks from that point.
Yeah, it may actually be a beneficial thing to hold on to some of those ticks for activations for very long periods of time for when you actually start doing really big batches of higher tier stuff that you want to craft, or on specific times you want to move up a tier. You can actually add on to the number of +1 die ticks that you have if you just want to roll those over for a couple of days.
Yeah, and also if you're doing things that aren't your primary focus. So if I'm a pine forester and I just need to grab a couple wormwood logs, I wouldn't want my mastery bonus enabled at that point because it's just kind of wasted for me. So
Mhm.
I'd just turn it off and go about my business.
Oh, right.
So um, yeah, I'll point out that we have 0 space available, and even though there's 3 editions per class, uh, we don't have the option of adding it. We don't have any space.
Mhm. You'll actually need to improve the size of the house, which is actually done through the progression system of starting with a shack, then you build a cottage, and you can actually apply that by pressing the button in the top right that says Upgrade Home. If you have a cottage in your inventory, you'll then place that over the shack. It kind of just layers on top of itself to actually add more space. The space is critical because if you want to get higher level additions, they'll also cost more individual size. Or if you want more in different additions, you'll actually need to have more size as well.
Right. So now that we have that open slot, we can add in that third. Where'd it go? Which one is it? Is it dry dock? I think it's dry dock.
Yeah, it says fishing
Yeah.
actions there.
So yeah, so we're empty again, but we have all three of our class specific additions. Um, so curiously absent is the ability to upgrade those additions. Although not so curiously absent because you have to further upgrade your home to be able to upgrade those additions past level 1.
Hmm. There are certain limitations on that, yeah.
Right. So if I were to upgrade the home again, not only do I have more home space, but now the upgrade option is available for each edition. So I can upgrade those all to level 2 since I have those all in my inventory.
Yeah, it's to stop a couple of different things. Not that it's really that abusable, but uh, it's not really intended to actually have only like a mastery edition in your house and then only do that. Because you can actually, pack a level 4 in on a level 2 house probably with just upgrading just that. Um, but yeah, having more individual free activations per day for different things for your profession is still a lot better.
Yeah, and actually one thing I'm seeing here is that as you upgrade your edition, it takes additional space. So I can't actually upgrade my third edition here because there's not enough room. So
Hmm.
I'll have to go through the process of building a larger house and applying that, or um, purchasing it or receiving it somehow. Once I upgrade, I now have 14 space. I can upgrade again.
Yeah, it's a very incremental system, and I really like how as the community grows as a whole, the housing industry is also going to actually grow. Um, I don't foresee there being a lessened demand of low size houses or low size additions, especially the additions for when people actually change professions later on.
All right, Subglacius actually mentioned that you have to refresh to show the new bonuses. That's useful, and that's probably why I was showing a forestry bonus when I had cooking additions on the house. So thank you for pointing that out.
So, other than some raw data that we can actually show as we're wrapping up, there's a couple of other interesting facts. Construction is not just a do it for yourself kind of crafting system. Once you actually make the shack and the additions and anything higher than that, you can actually post those on the market as individual items. And like we mentioned before, some of the additions, even level ones, were going for 50 million on the auction house. So it's definitely something you could start out with, get some small investments, or even just get your own materials and just make a really big amount of money just starting out with the game.
Hmm.
And as there isn't mastery and it's all based on level, you may take a little bit longer making it, but you can still make just as much money as they do. If you change professions, you can actually destroy some of the additions you have in your house and just get new ones and put those in. All just the same space requirements are put in. And as we said, with upgrading the house, you need like the shack and then the cottage. All the additions work the same way, where if you actually have a level 3 addition, you're going to have to place that on top of a level 1 addition, which needs a level 2 addition put on top of that for you to be able to put the level 3. So it's all progression based, so you can't just skip a whole bunch of steps.
Right.
And as of current, without uh, developer intervention, you can't actually get your house destroyed. We need to actually have Stretch get his house destroyed on the test server to actually do this demo. Thank you, Hoodie.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that literally anything we're talking about here and that's currently on the table could completely change in the next couple, weeks, days. By the time guilds roll out, everything could be different. Um, I've even seen Hootie talking about in Discord about changing. Um, Here, let me show it. Changing the how the bonuses are displayed, because it's not entirely intuitive. That first of all, you have to go down to the bonuses, and then you have to change it from red to no background.
Mhm.
So that's not something that's very apparent, and it's just post after post in Discord of people going over that, and hey, there it is. Now you know.
I specifically didn't want to watch our previous episode on construction when we were interviewing Hootie because I didn't want to do a comparison between then and now to see if we've lied in the past or anything. But really, this game is always developing. So,
Yeah,
with new professions, new systems, combat rework coming up in maybe a couple months, guilds coming up on the test server maybe in a few weeks. Uh, all this stuff could actually be rewritten to have slightly new systems to accommodate. So I'm not going to say take what we say with a grain of salt, but we're here for information and we're giving it true as current. Any major changes, we'll have a new episode. So
yeah, it's accurate now, which is what it's important. We're not leading anyone astray. Um, so that's our focus. Now, just for the sake of seeing how far this scales up, if I go back to the house and just upgrade it and see where it gets me, eventually the large chalet gives me 30 spaces, and let me upgrade the pond. Let me get rid of some additions. And it looks like maybe additions camp out at level 5 right now.
that's just a test server limitation. I believe that Hootie's going to be adding more of that over time,
Okay.
mostly because he knows it's going to take a while to get there.
It's unreasonable to get to that point on the live server right now.
Yeah,
Um, but right out,
materials as well as actual progress.
right. So not only has the space requirement scaled up, the upkeep requirement has scaled up slightly. I mean, it's not a ton more, but we've gone from a mastery bonus of 360 ticks up to 575.
Hmm.
So that's significant. And then as you activate these, you can see the cost goes up. It was 135, now it's 168K. Keep going. It definitely gets more and more expensive the more you want this enabled.
Yeah, I spoke to Hootie about this, and the higher level your additions go, the benefit is you get more time for that free activation at start, as well as for each one afterwards. But the cost per additional use does go up. But the way that it's going to be scaling is that you're overall going to be saving money for the equivalent amount of additional clicks that you're actually doing and additional activations. So for a total of 3 hours, you'll still be paying less at a higher level of an addition, um, because it doesn't scale up with as many clicks as you've done.
Mhm.
Um, I don't have the math on me right now, but there's probably going to be some people that have charts soon enough, so you'll be able to find that. That actually may adjust over time as well with balance and the economy. They wanted housing to actually be a Leol sync for the server. If it doesn't seem to be effective because all these people with billions of Leol are not spending enough, they might raise that. They might lower it. We don't know.
Yeah. So, uh, anything else? What I'll do is I'll post up the wiki page and scroll through that real quickly. I encourage you to stop by and visit that. Um, there's lots of information here that's been added. It actually looks like some Glacius has made the most recent edit.
Thank you, Subglacius, for your contributions to this stream as well as to that wiki.
Someone get this guy an MVP tag.
Oh, wait, already done. Um, so another thing I wanted to actually mention, since we're actually looking at the wiki as well as we're looking at the test server earlier, the test server does actually, I mean, it is an additional cost for the developers over the original server of the game, as well as with more additional players, it's more server load. So, uh, as well as myself and a lot of other people, I highly suggest people check out the Patreon for Talibri. Uh, More backing means better servers, lower upkeep on the developers, allows them to actually put a little bit more investment of time into the game. Uh, all good stuff. Also, $5 minimum backing will actually get you onto that test server to actually check out a lot of the things that we just did. Lets you actually test out a second character. It'll actually carry over your current one so you can test out other stuff. whenever new things are being added to the game, they'll always be added to the test server first so you can test them. Really cool stuff to do.
Yeah. Um, cool.
Yeah, that's my shilling for Talibri. I mean, that's why we're doing this in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me check, see if there's any more questions. Now's the time to chime in if you have any. We've got a fair number of people here. We'll go ahead and post this on YouTube for future reference. Um, Again, there's Reddit, there's the Discord, the Patreon. We'll post the links in the description how you can help contribute. We're not being coerced by these guys to say anything about it at all. It's just, it's a labor of love for them, and we just want to kind of help offset the costs of the servers and art assets.
Oh yeah, that's a really big one.
Yeah. Hey, you want character creation to happen faster? That's how you do it.
An entire month server cost is basically a single large splash screen of cost for a commission. That stuff is expensive.
Yeah. All right. So we covered housing. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. Um, Feel free to check this out on YouTube, and while you're there, comment. Let us know if there's anything you want us to cover. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and we were both talking beforehand. There's tons of content, like just dropping here that we're not even covering with crafting and just how mechanics are working. Um, and we just kind of miss doing this. So give us a reason to keep doing it if you like it. If you don't, give us that thumbs down. Uh, so, all right, I guess it's time for us to sign off then, unless you have
All right,
anything
yeah.
else.
Thanks for checking us out.
All right, have a good evening and master everything. This is Stretch.
And this is Devon.
We'll see ya.